So let's do some program which actually comes in your normal examinations. The thing is that you have to write a program to find the largest and smallest number in an array. That means you have to find the largest and smallest number. That means what actually they want. That means if this is an array, since we are just describing the program, we are including this particular header file, which is standard input output header file, because we know that here we use some functions in build like that main. We have to use the declare the variables, we are declaring the functions, we name functions printf, scanf. The definitions of these functions are written here, stdio.h in header file. If you're not including this particular header file, then you can say that your program will not understand the meaning of these library functions and also the variables, so it will give an error. So this is the main functions, and the return type of main we are used is an integer because the default return type of main is integer. So that's why I am writing this. So now we are declaring some variables like I and small. This is a variable, you can name it differently, but small variable will store the smallest number and a large variable will store the largest number. We are declaring an array of size 20. Maximum size is 20. That means you can store maximum 20 elements. So the first thing is you have to give the number of elements. Say the user will give n is equals to 6. So the value of n is 6 because the user will give scan. Now, so if we want to store it, we have to use this %d and %ai. %d is used because we know that the data is integer type. So say the user will give input like that, it will give 5, 2, 10, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and say one is say 7. So an index is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what you have to find? You have to find the largest and the smallest. What is the largest? In that particular case, the largest element is this one. 10 is the largest element. And what is the smallest element? Here the smallest element is 2. That means in small you have to print 2, and in large you have to print 10. That is the output you need, but how? That is the questions. So the thing is that, say initially, because you have to find both in the same program, and of course we have to use less number of for loops, that means less number of time complexity. By using this you have to find that. So what we can do, that say initially this small and large will take the first element of an array. That means initially, you can say this small will take 5 and as well as large. So the first element, this one is the first element, and then we are comparing like that for I equals to 1, because I will be starting from this particular location, I will be starting from that particular locations. So I equals to 1, the program will run up to I less than n and I plus plus. So what we check, if this ai, that means this location, is less than small, this small is equals to ai. What does it mean? That means if say this I is now at 1 locations, so a1 is equals to 2. If 2 is less than, small is taken as a 5. If this condition satisfied, then now the small will hold the value 2, and if after that if ai is greater than equals to greater than large, then large is equals to ai. So by using that you can find that, because again these conditions will not satisfy, so again the I loop, the value of I is become 2, then ai, that means a2 is equals to 10. So the first condition of small is not satisfied, but this condition is satisfied, that means 10 is greater than equals to large. Large is nothing but, here the large is, sorry, this large is, in that particular case we have taken as a 5, condition is satisfied, so large is equals to 10. So now again I is equals to 3. When I is equals to 3, the condition is satisfied or not, we have to check. So a3 is equals to 3, and this 3 is less than equals to small is now holding the value 2. This condition is not satisfied, and again it will check whether this ai is greater than equals to large, greater than large. Ai is, what is the ai is now 3, it's greater than large is 10, because large is holding the value, that is not also satisfied. So again it will back to the for loop. If it will back to the for loop, then again the value of I, what you can say, that the value of I is equals to 4. So a4 is equals to 4, and of course this 4 is less than equals to 2, condition is not satisfied, and 4 is greater than equals to 10, that is not satisfied, and it will goes on like that until and unless I is less than equals to and I is less than equals to n. So what we see that the small will always holding the smallest value, and the large will always holding the largest value. So after this condition is satisfied, that means it is out of the for loop, we can say that the smallest is %d, and largest is also %d, and we have to just bring the small and large. And of course, since we are using integer main, we have to write return 0 and that. So that is the whole program we have to write for finding the largest and smallest number in an array in the same program. So the next program, a program to reverse the element of an array. You have to reverse the element of an array. You are not printing the reverse pattern, because if we say that if an array is 2, 3, 1, 5, 4 like that, if we just write the for loop from the back side, that if I equals to n, I greater than 0 and I plus plus, and we are just want to print reverse order, that you have to just print it as ai like that, then it will print 4, 5, 1, 3, 2, but not the thing that will tell. That program will tell you that you have to reverse the element of an array. You have to reverse the element of an array. That means that array, the same array, you need not to use extra array, the same array will be looking like that. So this is the output. You are not printing the thing, you have to change the pattern. So this is the difference. So what you can do, how you can do, so it may be the logic like that. I am describing the logic. Before that, I just described that this is a hash include. You know that header file. This is a main ij and temp. These are the corresponding variables we have to use. This is a50. You can use less than that. That is the maximum number of element. Enter the number of element, and by scanf we are storing the value, and enter numbers, and then it will be stored like that. This is the enter number of elements. That means how many numbers you want to store, that will be stored in n. In the particular case, n is equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like that. So by using that for loop, what we can say, just we are just storing the value. Now what you want to do, you have to reverse. How? It may be possible that if this we are using some pointer here, and if we can use some pointer here, and we are just swapping this, that means this element and this element will be converted like that. So what you can say that if we just swapping is, this is 4 3 1 5 and 2, again I will be incremented and it will be pointing there, and j will be decremented, and again if we swap using the swapping, so it becomes like that. This is a 4, this is a 5, this is 1, this is, you are swapping, that means this is 3, this is 2. So now I will be like that, and what is j? J is be decremented like that. If we say some condition is given that when I is less than j and the loop will terminated, then it will terminate it, and it is the output. That is nothing but the reverse list. This is nothing but the reverse list. So how you can do that, means you have to initialize 2 pointers. You can do in the same for loop, because if we write the for loop like that, if I is 0 and we are initializing the j in the same loop, we can initialize it like that, and if condition is I is less than j, then your loop will run. What? I will be incremented and j will be decremented like that. And what you can do, you have to swap by using the third variable. You can use any other method to swap, but here I am using the method ai, and ai is equals to aj, and aj is equals to temp. I think you know the swapping. Swapping means if say this has a value 5, this has a value say 6, and temp. So what I am doing, ai value will be stored in temp, that means temp will be now 5. Then the value of aj is in ai, that means so ai is now 6, and now the value of aj is become temp, the value of temp is plus in aj, so it becomes, you can say, 5. So this is the process of swapping. So you just reverse the array, that is the case. So after reversing, if you want to print it, you just print like that, I equals to 0, I less than n, I plus plus, and we are just using the concept printf. If you want to print it using d and ai, it will print the whole array, and integer main, so it is written 0. So that is our program. So by doing this simple program, we are just reversing the elements of an array. We are reversing the element of an array. So what we are discussing now, that all are one-dimensional array. This is called 1D array. From onwards, in the next lecture, we will do the 2D array. That means two-dimensional array. Two-dimensional array.